Hey, I wanted to show this little clip and talk about it. It's the issue concerns the divide in the Republican Party and what's gonna come of it. And you've got CNN, who obviously hates the Republicans, and they're trying to help the Republicans, the kind of Republicans that John McCain is. Isn't that nice? That they must really care. All these years, I didn't think that they liked the Republicans, but here they are. They brought the Republican leader on, trying to fix the Republican Party.
He said he wanted you to be the cavalry to come in and save them, and instead you lost the fight for him. So are you to blame here?
So here she is, uh, talking about Ted Cruz and saying how, this is the divide, and she's trying. They know, CNN knows that Ted Cruz right now has made a name for himself, and the conservative wing of the Republicans, and even a lot of conservative Democrats are looking at him and saying, "Hey, I like this guy. He's plain spoken. He's not controlled by the establishment, and we're seeing some progress. We're seeing the establishment shaking in their boots. It's good stuff."
Well, there's a lot of ironies here because there were some of us and Republican senators that fought for 25 days against Obamacare up until Christmas Eve morning, campaigned across America in 2012 saying that as we elect Mitt Romney, we will repeal and replace Obamacare.
So, this is the biggest thing. This is what upsets him the most. As far as he's concerned, it's settled. Obama won re-election. That's it. He's not seeing the fact that the House was taken over by the Republicans and that the House holds the purse strings.
We were the leaders in the fight during that time. The point is, though, that it would require 67 Republican votes in the United States Senate in order to override a presidential veto.
You don't need to worry about a veto if we're talking about defund, because when we're funding, the House makes appropriations. They decide what to fund and what not to. There's thousands of laws every year that are on the books. They're real laws that don't get funded. It happens every day. So you need to get over that. We're allowed to defund, but he will never bring that word up.
In the case of repeal of Obamacare. So we take a back seat to no one, certainly I don't, in my efforts against Obamacare. And many ironies here, but one of them is the fiasco of this rollout has been obscured because of this internecine strife that's been going on in the Republican Party. So we will continue, I think, to try to get rid of the worst aspects of Obamacare, including the medical device tax and others.
How do you do that with a veto?
It was a fool's errand to start with. It was never going to succeed.
The fool's errand point he keeps saying is talking points from the establishment. So, in the past, the establishment, usually it's the party that's in power of the presidential power. Those people usually have the talking points. But here we have the Republicans. So apparently they do have some sort of a group that comes together and makes decisions. I'll call them the establishment Republicans.
And the damage, this was not an academic exercise. The damage done to the people of this country, particularly in my state where we're dependent on the tourist industry.
So let's hear about the damage, because this is his biggest concern, the damage. Then we're going to hear about the damage right now, the horrible.
In places like the Grand Canyon. There's a town called Tucson outside of the Grand Canyon. Hundreds of people. Then we had to have food banks send up meals for them because they live on minimum wage. Look.
Okay, so this is it. This is the only thing that he points to. Let's examine it. There's a town called Tucson, or whatever, in Arizona, and they had to have volunteers ferry food to these people because they're so poor. Well, why are they living there? Why don't they go live in another place? If you make minimum wage, you can go anywhere and make minimum wage. Why are you there in a place that you depend on the federal government? You're telling me that they live there at the behest of the federal government, that if the federal government doesn't exist, they don't exist? That is ridiculous. I don't depend on the federal government, and nobody I know does. And when the federal government shut down, we didn't blink an eye because we didn't see it. It never made a change in our lifestyle or anything about us. That's the point. That's what makes these establishment Republicans so fearful that the American people might wake up to the fact that the federal government is a ruse.
We can't do this to the American people.
Do you
The
blame Ted
damage
Cruz?
to ordinary citizens.
Do you blame Ted Cruz?
Now she wants to stick her finger in there and get this divide going. You know, Ted Cruz is a bad guy, bad guy, bad. They want to keep driving that home. Bad, bad,
For
bad.
that?
I blame the whole effort. I blame the whole effort.
Well,
The whole effort. When you say effort, you mean all the people that are included, everybody that supported the effort. So that's what, 2/3 of the Republicans in the House and about half of the Senate. So you, I guess you're on the cliff on the outside edge. You're just barely a Republican.
let
The
it.
whole effort, which, as I said, was not going to, well, all of those involved in it went on a fool's errand. That's just a fact.
All of those who went on it went on a fool's errand because, and I'll tell you why it was a fool. He's right. It was a fool's errand because when you have your own party behind you, stabbing you in the back, the establishment stabbing you, stabbing, and saying, it's a fool's errand. You'll never work. Of course it won't work. Can you imagine having a football team and you've got one team on the other side and then your team over here and you're ready to throw the ball and your own team knocks you down or knocks the ball out of your hand? It's ridiculous.
The other irony is that in the polling data, national polling, Republicans are at an all-time historic low in approval.
And what is the face of the Republican Party? Let's just look at the screen right now. That is the face of the Republican Party. When somebody says, what do you think about the Republican Party? We think of the establishment Republicans, the bad guys, the guys that support supported wars. They like to attack people with drones that haven't been convicted of any crimes. This is the kind of people that are anti-freedom. How did they ever get elected a Republican? It's just beyond me.
Or historic high in disapproval by the American people.
So what does
They
this
do
do
not
to your
agree
brand? I mean,
with
what
we
does
did.
this do to the Republican?
I'll tell you what it does. It makes it better because the American people are looking around going, hey, maybe there are some good Republicans because we gave up on the Republicans. I'm telling you what, the Republicans suffered in the last elections because people like me sat at home instead of coming to their support because of people like this guy that supports these wars overseas that are attacking people that walk around in sandals and live in mud huts. What kind of threat are these people to me? Why are they there? Why are they sending my kids to that place?
Party
look,
brand then?
well, it's hurt. The question is how deep and how long. But
How do you make it any worse? You know, it's like saying, how do we make shit smell worse?
the point is that what we need to do, move forward with immigration reform, get a positive agenda for America, continue the
Blah, 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 more talking points.
keep up the fight against Obamacare, but
Blah, blah,
don't
more.
shut down the government
Well-
and have so much collateral damage.
So much collateral damage. The only thing he could mention was these people needed to have food delivered to them. And how did they get the food delivered to them? Volunteers. Why? Because that's how America works. Nobody goes without. The federal government shuts down tomorrow, people still survive. We don't let our people go without. The only reason that people do go without is because everybody's expecting the federal government to handle it.
Innocent Americans.
Well,
Gloria.
Senator Cruz says he's not ruling out a second shutdown.
So she's trying to suggest that Cruz is going to make it happen again. I hope he does. I'm supporting it. I know that the bad Republicans are still back there. I know all this is going to be the same. The only difference that I can see right now is that the next time around we'll probably have a different speaker, which means that he will not bring such a bill to the floor to be voted on where a majority of the Republicans can't win it. And that's so sad for Boehner. You know, he'll be reelected, I'm sure. He just will not be the Speaker of the House again because he really blew it. If you want to know more about that, the last two videos I made, click on the video link below here and you can see the last couple videos I made about that. So my main point is this divide in the Republican Party is excellent. Sometimes you got to open up the doors, open up the windows, and drag all the crap out of the house, sweep it out real good, and just bring in the stuff you want, you know? And that's what the conservatives need. We need to, you know, we can actually steal a whole bunch of Democrats over to this side because they're sick of their own party. They don't have anywhere else to go. They're freedom lovers. A whole lot of the Democrats are freedom lovers. They believe in liberty. And unfortunately, they're stuck with this Democratic president that is acting more like a Republican, Democrat uh, hybrid, sort of like George Bush. So when I look at Obama, I see George Bush. I don't see any difference. I mean, they're doing exactly the same thing, all the same wars, all the same uh, anti-drug stuff. It's all exactly the same. So, you know, vote for whoever you will. It's not going to make any difference unless you get rid of those old people that are controlled by the establishment. Now, if we're going to have parties, they should be establishment, anti-establishment. There should be no Republicans, Democrats, because that's the problem. We've got the establishment Democrats and the establishment Republicans, and they come together and they compromise, and that leaves the non-establishment Democrats and Republicans out in the lurch. This is all going to change. Good talking to you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.
You know, he hasn't ruled it in. He says he's not ruling it out. Can he possibly do that?